thought she was being robbed, was there any other communication that you had with her while you were on the phone with her?
No.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may?
And permission to move about the courtroom freely?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Zansky, I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 2. Do you recognize State's Exhibit number 2?
I did.
And have you had a chance, or sorry, what is State's Exhibit number 2?
It is the audio tape of the 911 call.
And that's the phone call that Craig made while you were in the car, correct?
Yes.
And have you had a chance to listen to this disc and listen to it and review it in its entirety?
Yes.
And are those yours and Craig's initials and dated on there?
Yes.
Okay. And has there been any alterations, deletions, modifications, or is this a fair and accurate representation of that call that day?
Fair and accurate representation.
At this time, Your Honor, State would offer State's Exhibit 2 for all purposes.
No.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, State's Exhibit number 2 will be admitted.
Permission to publish.
May?
What's the location of your emergency? 6113 Royalton. 6130 Royalton.
6130 Royalton?
6130 Royalton. There's been a robbery.
How were you robbed, sir?
It wasn't me. I'm going over there right now with my friend. I was on the phone with her and she started screaming that she was being robbed at her home. I'm going over there right now.
What's your friend's name, please?
Leslie Baker.
Leslie? What's her phone number?
What's mine or hers?
Hers, please.
Hers is 214
Yes.
502 7130.
She had entered her home and she found someone there, you know?
I guess so.
I don't know. Don't know.
She's been screaming? Okay. I'll have it in. May I have your name, please, sir?
My name is Craig, C-R-A-I-G.
And last
Craig
name?
Littman, L-I-T-M-A-N.
And what type of vehicle are you driving, sir?
I'm driving a black Range Rover.
Leslie?
May I have a contact number for you?
214-616-8834.
You know about how far away you are, sir, minute-wise?
Minute-wise, I'm about 3 minutes.
Okay. I got it in. Thank you, sir.
I mean, I don't know what's going on there. I don't want to.
We're going to get officers out there, sir, so they'll be there probably before you, okay?
6130 Royalton.
Got it.
So I say?
Yes, sir, I got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, Ms. Rosansky, as far as that day, where did y'all go? Like, where were you heading directly to?
We were heading to her house
And the location of her house is where at?
on Royalton. 6130.
And is that in Dallas County?
Yes.
Is that in the state of Texas?
Yes.
When you arrived at the scene, what did you observe when you first arrived?
I stayed in the car and we saw her car and Robert, I think, outside. And Craig got out of the car initially.
objections of this witness, Your Honor.
All right, may this witness step down?
No objection, admission, be excused.
No objection, subject to recall.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Rosinski, you may step down. You will be subject to recall, meaning that if either of the parties want to call you back to the witness stand, just make sure you're available by cell phone.
Thank you.
Thank you. State you may call your next witness.
The state will call Robert Baker.
You can get on with this. Thank you, Mr. Baker. Good morning, good morning.
Good morning, Judge.
And the chair, side to side, not up and back, okay?
I'm fine.
All right.
Thank you.
And you can move that microphone if you need to.
All right, thank you.
So if you would please raise your right hand for me. Do you so solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you so much. You may proceed, Mr. Adams.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Baker, can you please introduce yourself to this jury and spell your name for the court reporter?
I'm Robert Hall Baker, R-O-B-E-R-T. Hall, H-A-L-L, Baker, B-A-K-E-R.
Now, Mr. Baker, I know today is not an easy day. If there's anything that I ask that is confusing or need clarification, please just let me know. Feel free to take your time to answer, and if you need to take a break, we can do that as well. Just let myself or the court know that you need a break, okay?
Yes, sir.
Now, I want to take you back to May 25th of 2020. Who is Leslie Baker to you?
My wife,
And is that her who we see in State's Exhibit number 1?
yes.
How long have y'all been married?
At that point, 27 and a half years. A month from now, we would have been at 31 years.
And in State's Exhibit number 1, who do we see there with you with your wife?
The young lady in the middle is my daughter Catherine, who's sitting in the back. The young man is our son Robert, who is unable to be here. He's in the Army and serving in Hawaii. He's on 12-hour deployment orders, so he was not able to be here.
Now, I want to take you back to that day in May, specifically May 25th, up there on the calendar. Do you remember that day?
Yes, sir.
Where were you living in May of 2020?
6130 Royalton Drive, Dallas, Texas.
And, Your Honor, I approach.
You may.
Janet's been marked as State's Exhibit number 3 and number 4. Do you recognize State's Exhibit 3 and State's Exhibit 4?
Yes, sir.
What's State's Exhibit 3
It's an aerial of the neighborhood that I live in,
and State's Exhibit number 4?
a photograph of my home, and it looks like it was on May 25th, 2020.
This time, Your Honor, State would offer State's Exhibit number 3 and State's Exhibit 4 for all purposes.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, State's Exhibits number 3 and 4 will be admitted.
What were you doing on May 25th of 2020, that afternoon?
I was home working on the computer.
And where was Leslie?
Earlier in the day, she had done some baking in the kitchen, She took a nap, and she went back in the kitchen, got the items that she had baked for a friend of ours, and she left our home.
Did you know, or were you aware that she had left at that time?
Yes, I was.
As far as when she left, where were you at in the house when she left?
I was in the back, in what we call the family room, at my computer. I was doing my real estate, some continuing education.
Okay, now I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 3, and I know it's kind of difficult, but you said you lived at the corner of Royalton and Azalea, correct?
Yes.
And running from the top to the bottom and a right to left, is this Royalton?
Yes, it is.
And then Azalea, it's kind of hard to see because there's a lot of tree overhang. But right here, almost at the O and the Y, is that?
That's our home.
Okay. So you're located right there on the corner.
Yes, sir.
And would this be a photo of that residence looking from Royalton, looking, I guess, east towards Royalton? Or looking down Azalea, but you're on Royalton?
Looking west, yes. Or that's east.
Looking east.
Yes, sir.
What do you remember hearing that day when you were back in your office working?
I had actually left my office and had walked through the living room and was approximately at the dining area. It's an open area, so it's the kitchen, the dining room, and the living room. So as I was walking through there, I heard pop, pop. And it obviously caught my attention. Little confused, we had a tornado hit our area the prior October, about 9 months before. So I was used to roofer nail guns being, everybody got new roofs.
So when you heard the initial 2 pops, it wouldn't have been out of the ordinary for you to hear something like that based off of the construction. I think we all probably remember the tornado that hit
Yes.
North Dallas. But
Yes,
did you hear anything after the initial 2 pops?
walked forward because I was confused by it, and I heard pop, 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 pop. That really got, I ran to the kitchen window to look out to see if there were some workers across the street. I'd seen them earlier in the day to see if there were roofers. What I saw was either a Nissan or a Toyota Silver fly through the intersection, running through, down Azalea, going west, through the stop sign, and they had it floored, and they just went flying by.
Now, when you saw that, you never saw anybody outside of that silver vehicle. You never saw anybody, what you later learned to be shooting. You never saw anybody actually do the shooting, correct?
No, sir.
You just heard pop, pop, a pause, and then multiple shots.
Yes, sir.
thereafter.
Yes, sir.
Once that happened, or once you got to the window, what did you do, or what was going through your mind, and what did you do?
I won't use the words that went through my mind, but I went, this ain't good. I turned around, I could not see the area where our driveway was, where this car came from. I didn't see any workmen. So I ran back to the living room, which was the first group of windows that faced Azalea. I looked out, I saw Leslie's car parked in a completely unusual manner. The back windows shot out. I said some loud words to myself. I ran back into the other room where my cell phone was on my desk. I grabbed it, ran back into the living room kitchen, into the kitchen, went through the door that
So let
went
me
in.
stop you right there.
Yes.
So, as far as you said Leslie typically was parked in an unusual, location. Where does Leslie typically park when she's at the house?
If you look at the picture of my house, you can see a police car on the left side. That front tree and there's two trees. On the other side of the second tree is our driveway. The window you see to the left of the walkway is the kitchen window that I'm talking about. The area to the left of it, or the picture with the big white thing in the middle, that's our garage.
And so when we're looking in State's Exhibit 4, right kind of like in this area at the end of the house in State's Exhibit number 4, between the end of the house and the police car, that's the driveway.
Yes.
Is that where she would have typically been parked?
Yes.
And in State's Exhibit 4, can you actually see over here in the corner her vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. And that's not typically where she parks?
No, because it wasn't parallel parked. It was, as you got the curving, it was cockeyed into it. And it's still running when I went out there.
Okay, so you went and grabbed your phone. And what did you do when you grabbed your phone?
I ran to the kitchen, went through the kitchen door to the garage, opened the garage, and went running to the car.
And were you on the phone at this point?
Not at this point. I was trying to get to Leslie and see what the helper. When I got there, the car was running. I couldn't unlock it. It was locked. She was sitting in the driver's seat, leaning over and moving. Second, be right.
All right, and take a breath. Take your time.
I ran back into the house because the spare key was just right, the first drawer in the kitchen. So I got in, I ran back out, I unlocked the door, opened it up, talked to her for a second, and then I ran to the passenger side, opened it, started talking to her, and I called 911. And I talked to her, and I stood there.
So let me let you grab your breath real quick. And just, so the car was locked, and you ran back inside to get a key because the car was running and it was locked, and she was non-responsive to you trying to get her.
Yes, she didn't speak, she moaned.
And at that point, you called 911, correct?
Yes, immediately.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 5. Do you recognize State's Exhibit number 5?
Yes, it's my signature and I dated it.
And is this the 911 call that you made on May 25th of 2020?
Yes, it is.
And is it a fair and accurate recording with no alterations, modifications, or deletions?
It is.
State would offer State's Exhibit 5 for all purposes.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, case exhibit number 5 will be admitted.
Permission published.
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That night, this is telephone with the address of the emergency.
My wife's been shot by a drive-by shooter.
What's the address?
6130 Royalton. 6130 Royalton.
Did you see the person that shot her?
It looked like a silver Nissan small compact, didn't get a deal. Hurry, she's still alive.
Okay, we're sending police. Is this a house or an apartment?
Ambulance, please.
No, is this a house or an apartment, sir?
It's a house.
What's your,
6130
6130, what's your name?
Robert Baker.
Call that 214-676-2424, stop the Royston and Azalea. Stay on the line with me till you see the ambulance. Did you see the person that shot her?
No, I did not. I heard noise. Looked out the window. and then saw the,
Okay, you said he was in a silver what, you know, license plate maybe?
Nissan, no, he's racing by. Leslie, can you hear me? Leslie,
Did you see which way the vehicle went towards?
no, please.
We're sending, okay, we're sending them, just stay on the line until they get there. Let me know when you see the ambulance.
Yes,
They're driving a 6130 Royalton.
that's correct.
Let me know when they get there. Are you in the vehicle or is she outside? Where is she?
I'm standing in the driveway.
Okay, I'll take her.
Hang in there, Leslie. Hang in there, Leslie.
Where was she shot?
I can't tell.
Did you see which way the vehicle went towards that shot?
Yeah, he went towards, Preston Road.
Towards Preston and what?
Preston Royalton.
Do we know if it was Nissan Sentra, Nissan Altima?
I don't know, ma'am. Get an ambulance over here immediately.
Sir, I already told you that they're driving to the location.
It
Let
looks
me
like
know.
she shot in the shoulder.
She shot in the shoulder. I'll let them know. Let me know when you see the ambulance.
I will let you. What the hell is going on?
What's your last name?
Baker? I hear the ambulance coming, or somebody.
Okay. Let me know when you see them.
Hang in there, Leslie. Ambulance is coming. Hang in there, don't move, baby, don't move. Hang in there, Leslie, don't move, baby. The ambulance will be here.
Is there anything else you can tell us about the vehicle?
No, I can't, it's just a silver, kind of low end, it looked like a Nissan, but they were speeding by, and I actually heard the shots. I was in the back of the house, ran to the front of the house, looked out the window and saw him drive off.
Okay. You have police and ambulance driving to the location. Just let me know you see them.
There was some workmen across the street, hopefully they saw something, but they don't act like they're rushing over here. I think she was on the phone with one of my kids. No, Melanie.
They're almost there. I'm sure that they're, the officers on Azalea.
I see the police officer.
Okay. You want to go ahead and release so you can speak to them?
That would be great, it's pulling up now.
Okay, great. No.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
Mr. Baker, I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as 6 exhibits, 12, 16, and 18. Have you seen these before?
Yes.
And what are state's exhibits 12, 16, and
12 is a photograph probably taken from the street side of my house of the corner of Royalton and Azalea. That's the stop sign I saw him run through.
18? Okay.
This is a photograph of my house looking at the garage and where Leslie's car was stopped with the back windows shut out.
Okay, so both the 16 and 18 are both of these photos of the house that day as they appeared when you went out there?
Yes.
Outside of some of the other things that were left behind?
Yes.
Take it off for state exhibits 12, 16, and 18 for all purposes.
No objection.
All right, exhibits 12, 16, and 18 will be admitted.
Permission to publish, Your Honor.
You may.
Now, State's Exhibit number 12 that we have up there, when we're looking at this stop sign, your house is on the corner of Royalton and of Azalea, so your house would be behind the person who is taking this photo,
That is
correct?
correct.
So this stop sign would run from east to west
That is
Where-
correct.
Azalea,
On Azalea.
on Azalea. And the vehicle, when it ran the stop sign, it continued down Azalea,
It
correct?
went through that stop sign going west,
So from right to left.
from right to left.
Now, State's Exhibit number 16, is this what you were describing as far as Leslie's vehicle and how it was parked?
Correct.
And typically, she would have been parked in the driveway.
That's correct. From the left-hand side.
As far as the windows that you've described and you kind of running around the house, for lack of a better phrase, trying to find a view, does this picture kind of show the problems you were having seeing where her vehicle was at?
Yes, if you look to the far left-hand side against the house, you see a light through a window. That's the window that I ended up looking out to see her car.
And then here again in State's Exhibit number 18, as far as her car, it's actually not parked. Even if she were to park along that curb, it was not even parked parallel.
That's correct.
Now, you said that you thought she might be on the phone with one of your kids. Were your kids home at the time?
No, they were not.
Where were they at?
Catherine was in East Texas at Cedar Creek Lake with her boyfriend's family. Robert was at Texas A&M down in College Station.
Okay. And on the recording, you say she was on the phone with Melanie, correct?
It was Melanie Brzezinski, as the phone was sitting there and it said Melanie. I was mistaken when I told the 911 one of our kids.
At first, that's who you thought it might be.
Sure.
Okay. Now, those two other vehicles that are parked in front of Leslie's vehicle, are those y'all's vehicles?
There are vehicles.
Okay. Do you remember approximately what time of year this was as far as like holidays or anything, like why there were so many American flags out in front of your
It
house?
was Memorial Day, Monday, May 25th, 2020, Memorial Day, 5 o'clock.
Okay. And that is what we see there on State's Exhibit 287, correct?
Yes, yes. How about the flags?
Oh, sorry, I mean the date on the calendar, but
Yes.
you were referring to the photo of the front of your house with the American flags at the walkway.
Yes, it was Memorial Day weekend.
Now, you've testified to this jury that and told the 911 operator that you heard mumbling and you believe that Leslie was still alive at that time. Did she ever actually talk to you or say anything to you?
She couldn't talk to me. When I first got to her, she was rotating and moaning. Later, when I made the 911 call, she had turned this way, the movement and the moaning stopped.
And is that when you went to the passenger side of the vehicle when she was slumped over to the right?
I first went to the driver's side and she was to the left, and I went around to the passenger side because I could talk to her and see her, and she was leaned over that way.
And you
And that's where I made the 911 call.
and you told the 911 call taker that she had been shot in the shoulder. Which shoulder did you believe she had been shot in?
What I ended up seeing, I didn't see any blood. What I eventually saw was what looked like a material bullet exit. It wasn't bleeding, it just looked, it was somewhere down in here.
Somewhere on the right-hand side of her
On the
lower
right-hand
shoulder.
side.
And was that when you were on that
I
passenger?
was on the right-hand side of her.
Okay, so that's how you were able to give that.
Eventually, yeah, I saw it.
After DFR and the police arrived.
Yes.
But as far as any other wounds due to being shot, you didn't see any?
I didn't see any.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
Mr. Baker, I'm gonna just show you one last photo. We've looked at this prior to today, so this is previously, or is marked as State's Exhibit number 6 for identification purpose. Would you mind just verifying who is in State's Exhibit number 6?
It's my wife, Leslie.
And that was after she was murdered, correct?
Yes.
State would offer State's Exhibit number 6.
No objection for record purposes only at this point.
All right, State's Exhibit number 6 is admitted for record purposes only.
I'll pass it.
Thank you.
You have to see. Mr. Baker, I just have a few questions for you. When you got into the passenger side of the car, you said you opened the passenger door.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you actually get into the car physically?
Not other than just leaning in and talking to her. I didn't sit in it or anything.
Could you see what gear the car was in?
I don't remember.
Do you know if you ever noticed what, even after everybody left or anything? did you ever-
I know when I ran out and got the second set of keys, I turned the vehicle off. So if it was in drive, I would have had to put it in park and hit the button.
And how did you turn it off?
That particular car has a button, so you have to put it in drive and put a button, as I recall.
So you,
It was Leslie's car, I didn't drive it very often.
okay, and I guess I'm a little confused. You pushed the button inside the car.
That's correct. It's got a push button start, as I recall.
But you don't know what gear it was in, you just assume not drive because it went off.
I don't know what gear it was in.
You also described rapid fire shots. You described a pop pop and then a short pause and a pop 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 thereabouts. Does that sound right?
That's correct. I heard two distinctly clear pops, and then I heard multiple pops. Did not count them. They were more than 3. They could have been 6. They could have been 4. I don't know. They happened in such rapid succession that the noises overlapped each other.
And you actually thought this was a drive-by shooting, is that correct?
When I saw the car with the rear window shot up, it looked like that to me at that moment. From running out there.
Not from the car speeding away?
No, I did not see the shots from the car.
No, I'm saying you saw the car speeding away down the street.
That's correct.
So what made you think that that car was involved?
It went through the stop sign right after I heard the shots at full speed, speeding away.
About how long do you think passed from the time the shots were fired until it ran the stop sign?
I couldn't give you an exact time.
Just an estimate, best you can, Mr. Baker.
10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds.
right, thank you. Anything further from Mr. Baker?
No, Your Honor.
All right, may this witness step down?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, you may step down.
Thank you, Judge.
You may call your next witness.
State will call Officer Garcia. And Judge, subject to the previous conversation, Mr. Baker will remain in the courtroom.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please raise your right hand for me? Do you so solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, you can have a seat for me. And as I know, you probably know, officer, the seat doesn't move up, but the microphone does. So you can adjust the microphone and not the chair, okay?
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Mr. Adams?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Officer Garcia. Could you please introduce yourself to this jury and spell your name for the court reporter?
Okay. Good morning. I'm Officer Oscar Garcia, OSCAR-GAR-CIA, and my badge number is 10385.
And Officer Garcia, how are you currently employed?
I am a detective with the Dallas Police Department, the North Central Investigative Unit, where we investigate property crimes.
How long have you been employed with the Dallas Police Department?
A total of 11 years.
Were you working with the Dallas Police Department and on call on May 25th of 2020?
Yes, I was in patrol.
And specifically back in May of 2020, what was your beat, if you will?
My beat was 634, the North Central Division of Dallas.
Can you explain just briefly to this jury kind of the roles and duties of a patrol officer with the Dallas Police Department?
As a patrol officer, we respond to calls placed by citizens, and we respond to those calls, and depending on what type of call it is, we investigate and do what's needed at the call.
Now, on the 25th, did you receive a call for service to respond?
Yes.
Explain to the jury, what is a call for service?
A call for service is when a citizen or anybody calls 911 and requests 911 assistance, and that call goes to our dispatch, and once in our dispatch, it gets assigned to a patrol officer, in which I got assigned to on that day.
Now, what was your call for service in regards to?
It started off as a shooting, and it turned into a robbery.
And did it continue to escalate from that point?
When I arrived,
Yes.
yes,
Or does the call for service just stay in those two categories for your purposes as a patrol officer?
yes, but their comments keep coming in as people were calling and what officers are saying, the call sheet
It'll continue to?
continue, correct.
Okay. And so you are initially get a call for service in regards to a shooting that turns into a robbery. What was the location for that call for service?
Royalton.
And specifically, do you remember that address?
I do not.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
Do you recognize State's Exhibit number 4?
Yes,
And is that the location of the call for service?
correct.
And that would have been 6130 Royalton,
Correct.
and on State's Exhibit number 3, right at the corner of Royalton and Azalea.
Yes, correct.
Can you describe to this jury what you observed when you initially arrived at 6130 Royalton?
When we arrived, me and my partner observed a black car parked on the side of the street there, and an individual pointing at the vehicle in the driver's seat saying that his wife had been shot. And she
Let me
was still-
clear that up right there. You saw an individual
Yes,
in the vehicle.
by the vehicle. Oh, yes, in the vehicle, and then another individual by the vehicle.
Okay, and what was that individual by the vehicle doing?
He was on the phone and he was pointing at the vehicle.
Okay. And did you later learn that that was her husband?
Correct, yes.
As you arrive and you go from it being a shooting to now this situation that you arrive, what are you assessing as an officer arriving to all you know at this point is a shooting scene, correct?
Correct.
What type of information and cues are you taking in and processing?
Well, first off, we're making sure that that everybody else is safe and that there's still no one shooting, based on the type of call.
Like an active shooter
Yes,
situation?
yes, make sure that there's no active shots being fired as soon as we get there.
And once you arrived at this scene, was that the case that there was not an active shooter present?
Yes,
How does, you arrive and you see Ms. Baker's husband pointing to the vehicle, you see her in the vehicle. How does your role change if it were an active shooter situation to now what you're observing and perceiving at the scene?
so how, yeah, can you repeat it one more time?
Once you arrive at the scene and you see all of this, and there's no
Correct.
active shooter situation taking place,
Correct.
what is your role at that point?
At that point, we attempt to preserve life. So our immediate focus was Ms. Baker.
And were you receiving information from Mr. Baker about her physical state and condition?
Yes, he stated that she was still breathing.
And that kind of information doesn't come through the call sheets necessarily at that point, correct?
Correct.
So you arrive and now it goes to preservation of life. And have you been trained at least with some basic life-saving measures?
Yes.
Can you explain what DPD trains y'all in?
We're trained to do CPR, tourniquets,
Pretty basic.
basic, yes.
Ultimately, you're trying to preserve life until DFR arrives.
Correct.
DFR being Dallas Fire and Rescue.
Correct.
How would you describe, were you the only person on the scene at that point besides Ms. Baker, Mr. Baker, and yourself? Or were there others present initially?
Initially, there was one officer and my partner showed up at the same time that I did.
How would you describe the scene at that moment?
I would describe Mr. Baker. He was, kind of shocked, stunned at what he observed, and he wanted us to immediately attend his wife because of what happened. Her suffering a gunshot wound.
And at that point, did you begin life-saving measures or preservation of life-saving?
Yes, we immediately went to Ms. Baker.
Back in May of 2020, were you outfitted with a body-worn camera?
Yes, I was.
And was it operational and functioning on that day?
It was.
Have you had an opportunity to view and watch your body-worn camera from that day and in preparation of this trial?
Yes.
Does that video, what events does that video show?
That video is going to show everything from the beginning as soon as we get there. Me exiting the car, seeing Mr. Baker pointing at the vehicle, me going to the vehicle and attempting to help Miss Baker preserve her life, and then, after preserving her life, going and seeing, trying to preserve the crime scene, because at that point, I believe Dallas Fire had showed up, and they're more trained professional medics, so they take over that part, and we just try to protect the scene and try to gather more information, as far as what happened.
And at that point in time, you don't know if, well, as far as the scene at that moment in time, the crime scene itself, that would be the best recollection of it, or the best picture of it at that moment in time, nearest to the shooting taking place.
Correct.
It would have been captured on her body camera.
Yes.
Now, when, are you on our map approach?
You may.
Your Honor, this time, I'm showing this been marked as State's Exhibit number 7, which is marked 19 parentheses 8 video first responding officer. You recognize the initials and date and I believe badge number on there.
Yes.
What is State's Exhibit number 7?
My body worn camera footage.
And has this been altered, modified, deleted, or have there been any changes made to it?
No.
Does it accurately depict the events of May 25th, 2020 that you observed and perceived on that day?
Yes.
Do you think it would help aid your testimony in the jury watching this to see the measures that you took, as well as to view the crime scene as it was most recent in time to the shooting?
Yes.
At this time, Your Honor, the state would offer State's Exhibit number 7 for all purposes, and
No objection, Your Honor.
All right. State's Exhibit number 7 will be admitted.
permission to publish, Your Honor.
You may.
No, Your Honor, I am not So if you were, here on State's Exhibit number 3, if you were at, the Baker's residence, it would be down Azalea to Preston, Preston, up to Royal, and then Royal,
Right over to the toilet.
so that ain't west.
Yes.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Anything further, Ms. Moore?
No, Your Honor.
All right, may this witness step down.
No objection.
No objection.
All right, thank you, officer, you may step down. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and take our morning break. Give you a minute to stretch your legs. You've heard quite a bit of testimony, and we will meet back here at approximately 11:30. So that should give you a good